Let's talk to our political veterans, former DNC Chair Donna Brazile, former New Jersey Governor Christie, and former RNC Chair, Trump White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus. And I want to ask all of you the question I asked Sunday and see if anything's changed. Donna, let me begin with you. What are you watching for most today? Do you have a strong conviction about what's going to happen?
Well, George, as you well know, there are millions of Americans who are still holding on to their requested absentee ballots. So turn those ballots into an official drop box or to the post office, watch it get stamped. What I'm watching, George, the number of volunteers that the Democrats are seeing all over this country, making sure that they get the votes in. And I'm also watching Vice President Harris, who will spend most of her day calling into radio stations, encouraging people to vote. So it's going to be a razor-thin election, but I do believe that the Democrats have put all of the ingredients, and what we're looking for now is a delicious bowl of gumbo. The roux is there. We just need the salt and the seasoning.
Reince Priebus, I think you predicted 300-plus electoral votes for Donald Trump on Sunday, standing by that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I look at two things, George. One, the big picture. The big picture is 75% of the country says that this country's on the wrong track. That's a historic number, huge problem for Kamala Harris. Number two, the prices of gas, groceries, the economy, and then this crazy border that we've got with people coming over the border. People don't like it. It's universally condemned. Small picture, look at early vote. Republicans are doing better. Democrats are doing worse than they did in 2020. Polling is better for Trump than it's been since he's run. Prediction markets say Trump is looking good, too. And Democrats today, they've got to do better today on the ground than they've done in modern history. They've got to pull off something on the ground today, more like 2008 than anything else. It's going to be really tough for them, I think, to pull it off.
Christie, that 74% wrong track number usually spells doom for anyone in an incumbent party.
And it would spell doom for the incumbent party, except for the fact that Donald Trump has a 60% unfavorable rating with the American people. You know, when I used to look at polls that were done for me when I was running, the first two things I would look at, George, was right track, wrong track, and favorable, unfavorable for the candidate. And these two are exact opposites now. It spells doom for the Democrats, but the thing that saves them is Trump's 60% unfave. His unfave would spell doom for him, except 74% of people think they're on the wrong track.
We just heard Reince Priebus run through the issues, but that's not really what voters heard from Donald Trump in these last 10 days.
No. In fact, I spoke to a person in the Trump campaign last night who said that their words exactly, we wanted to vomit the last 9 days because he completely got off message, and they're afraid he may have lost it in the last 9 days. So today, I think the things that I'm going to be looking at are going to be what's turnout like in Philadelphia, in Milwaukee, in Detroit. If turnout is really good in those places, that's a good sign for Harris. If it's not as robust, it's a bad sign for Harris. And the one thing I'd say about Reince with the early vote is when you look at that early vote in depth, these are people who have voted in 3 of 4 and 4 of 4 of the last elections. So the question is, are Republicans adding voters, or are we cannibalizing the election day vote?
And I want to bring a question to Donna Brazile. Donna, Reince pointed out that Donald Trump beat the polls in 2016 and 2020. That is definitely true. Democrats have beat the polls in 2022, basically every election since Dobbs.
Look, there's no question that reproductive rights, women want to have the full range of our health care available to all of us. But let me just tell you something about the polls. And I understand why people like to talk about the polls, because they don't know nothing else. What I like to talk about the people, the excitement, the energy, the joy. And what you're seeing right now on the Democratic side is that we've captured the momentum. In the closing days of this campaign, Kamala Harris is uniting the country by saying that she has a plan, she has a process, she has a favor to making sure that we all stand together. She's not running around the country making jokes and talking about the former Speaker of the House. I do believe at the end of the day, this election is going to turn down to those voters in those counties that Chris mentioned, but also to those Americans who hunger for change. They want a man or a woman with character, and there's only one candidate with the character in this race, and that's Kamala Harris.
Reince Priebus, we're hearing a lot from people surrounding Donald Trump that he's going to declare victory tonight, basically no matter what. At some point, do you expect that to happen? Do you expect him to accept the results if he loses?
I do, George, but I also think that, to counter what Chris just had to say, if you look at where the numbers are today, people that don't vote as much, they're actually turning out bigger for Donald Trump. This is totally different than any other election. The less likely it is for someone to vote, the more likely it is that they will vote for Donald Trump. I actually think the last thing I'd tell you is that Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, the 3 states that we've been talking about so much, those undecided voters, the 3.5% left today, who are those people? Those people look the same in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, which is why Trump won all 3 in 2016. Biden won all 3 of those in 2020. I believe that Harris or Trump, and I happen to think it's going to be Trump, but I think Harris or Trump will win all 3 of those states tonight. That's why I think tonight is going to feel more like 2016 than 2020.
States often fall in the same direction. Reince Priebus is right about that, Chris. I guess the question I have to you is, how long do you believe this is going to take, and do you believe this closely divided country can come together after this election?
Well, and how long it's going to take? Look, I think Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Nevada are going to take a while because of the way they count votes. And Arizona and Nevada, obviously, in the Pacific time zone, are going to start later. So I think we're not going to know this probably until late tomorrow or maybe even Thursday in terms of who's going to be the winner. And again, I don't know which numbers Reince is looking at. The ones I looked at in Georgia are not showing low propensity voters are coming out on either side at the moment. That's not good news for Trump or Harris. They've got to get whoever gets those people motivated out are going to be the ones to go. And in terms of Trump accepting the results of the election if he loses, George, I just ask Reince, what's the evidence that he will? He never has. And so all of a sudden now he's going to get religion and accept him if he loses. I don't think that's the case. Now, I don't think it'll matter nearly as much as it did 4 years ago because he's not the president. And so his influence on what will happen post-election is significantly less now than it was 4 years ago. But you asked about conviction early on, and I realized I didn't answer. I'd bet about $5 on Harris today. For a guy from New Jersey, that's not a lot of conviction.
Okay, thank you all very much.